Hey guys, so before I get into the tour today, I want to announce to you that on Saturday, July 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be going live inside my Discord group, and I'll be talking about how the garden is going so far this year. If you are a patron and you're inside the Discord group, you will also get the opportunity to, if you want, you don't have to, actually jump on the voice call with me and physically chat. Otherwise, you're welcome to just kind of hang out, listen, type in some questions, and I'll be there for at least an hour, maybe more, depending on if people have more stuff to talk about. But you can check out how to get into the Discord group in the link below. We are inside again at the beginning of the tour for the first time in a while because I have planted some new seeds. Nothing has sprouted yet, but I wanted to let you guys know that I have planted a lot of my longer term fall garden stuff. We've got rutabaga in there, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, and cabbage. And the seed starting mix that I used, excitingly, is composed at least partially of worm castings that came from my worm farm, which I feel very accomplished about because it's the first time that I've ever used something from the worm farm, and now it's going to make me really healthy little babies. So today I thought it would be really fun to compare the garden today to what it looked like at this time last year. My week 29 from 2023, I went back and watched it and took some notes, and we're gonna kind of compare and contrast what I was thinking about the garden exactly a year ago. And also, very interestingly, that video last year, I did not pre-plan this, but that video last year I looked it up and I was celebrating 10,000 subscribers. And this year I am just now past 15,000. So I got 50% more in a year, whereas I think it took me 2 years to get to the first 10,000 or so. So that is wild. And thank you guys, all of you who have subscribed. I am so grateful. And all of you who are just here watching my videos every week. You guys are awesome. You make me feel like I'm actually helping people out and making a difference, and I hope that that's true. So first thing I want to mention to you guys is we have actually had some rain this week, about 3/10 of an inch, which is nothing compared to what all the neighboring cities have gotten. But it is still better than the absolute nothing that we were getting, and you can start seeing some of the plants recovering. It's also not quite as oppressively hot as it has been. It's only in the mid 80s instead of the mid 90s. And it's a little overcast because it's just been super cloudy. This is the time of year where you can absolutely expect a pop-up thunderstorm almost every single afternoon. We just got super unlucky the last month and had every single one of those pop-up thunderstorms kind of just go around us. But yeah, it is, I mean, it's still not great to be out here. 85 degrees, almost 80% humidity. It is rough. This time last year, a lot of my garden infrastructure that you see now wasn't even here. This is new, table is new, almost all of these raised beds over here is new. This arch is new this year. The droning of the mower in the background is not new, unfortunately. This time last year, I also had not planted anything in this outer row here. This was all just grass, and currently it still looks like it's mostly grass, but I do have some turmeric in here. Hidden in here are some strawberries that I started, and then up down the row a little bit are a couple of perennial herbs. I'm out here again with my cute little red truck basket, and we are going to start out by looking at the tomato row. If you take a look at this trellis, you might see this tomato kind of coming sideways and up. I've started training kind of this one here closest to this side, this direction, because the tomatillos here did not get very tall. Although you'll see this tomatillo that never fell over is actually just as tall as the tomatoes over here. That one has a cage around it kind of holding it up. And then this one, this is all fallen over. I probably should have tied it up to the trellis, but I did not. And it still seems to be doing okay. Y'all who've been with me for a while know that I kind of tend towards the lazy gardening side of things, and you know, if it's fine without intervention, then I just tend to leave it. I came through yesterday and pulled a lot of tomatoes, but you can still see all of that red. I've got a lot more to pull. So coming through the tomato row this year, I think it looks a little more out of control than it did this time last year. And it feels like I actually have more tomatoes than I did last year. Of course, I had done a much better job of pruning everything. I was just now getting to the point this time last year where I was going to give up on pruning. And I've kind of been there for a while this year. So while the whole thing doesn't look quite as neat, I feel like it has been more productive for me. I also want to point out to you guys, you see right here this purple stem coming up? This is a pole bean. It is just now starting to make beans for me, and I've been trying to train it kind of out sideways along the trellis. Every time it gets tangled up with tomatoes, if I can, I untangle it and then scoot it out sideways again. Just mostly trying to keep it under control and kind of spread out so that it'll be easier to harvest. When it comes to the beans, I noted last year that I was just starting to get beans on these plants. I think I had planted them later. And you can see I am getting flowers on these, but I actually had started harvesting more than a month ago, and then there was a break because of the drought. And I resisted watering my garden for a while because I was like, surely it'll rain soon. Surely it'll rain soon. And then it didn't. And these plants really struggled and stopped producing for a while. But it looks like now that we're getting rain again, we might start getting more beans. I wish that I could properly show you guys how many pollinators are here. I feel like the camera does not pick them up properly, but there's just buzzing everywhere. There's a bee everywhere you look. There's a butterfly on top of like all these zinnias. It is gorgeous. This second row here, still looking like a jungle. This time last year, I called this area a jungle. And I think that what I have now looks a bit more like a jungle. Like the tomatoes are bigger and fluffier, and you know, there's a lot more zinnias actually, which some of that was intentional, but a lot of these self-seeded. So this area, it's looking somewhat different, but not really all that different because I still had the zinnias in this area. I did have tomatillos here that I don't have this year. I had a few sweet peppers along here. Eggplants right here are going really well. I actually have started protecting blossoms because I do want to save seeds from the eggplants this year. And I gotta stop that cross-pollination if I want them to grow true to type. The sweet peppers in this area are doing pretty darn good. I've got a couple of peppers coming on them, and these look great. I'm really excited to get some actually ripe sweet peppers this year. I really thought that my sweet peppers were behind where they were last year, but it turns out this time last year I was just now looking at harvesting some of these, and I have actually already harvested a few sweet peppers this year already. So even though I had some setbacks as far as getting these guys as big and healthy as soon as I wanted, they are actually still ahead of where I was last year. My eggplant last year definitely were bigger. The eggplant were very severely stunted by the whole soil issue. This is the only baby that I have, but I still have one despite all the problems that I've had. So I'm pretty happy with that overall. And I see this one over here is starting to make some flowers, starting to potentially have some little baby eggplant on it. I'm hoping that I do get an eggplant harvest this year. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the summer, and buying them from the store, it just isn't the same. There's literally so many pollinators. There's 3 on this flower alone. Anyway, my hot pepper section is also just a little farther along than it was this time last year. I think I still had lots of green peppers, which is what I have this year, but I've actually already pulled a couple of ripe ones off of here, and I can see a couple more kind of down in there starting to turn. I also did come through and spray these down with the organic Rev, and they do actually already look better, in my opinion, than they did. I'm going to give them another treatment maybe today, and I haven't seen it really spreading to any of the plants nearby, which is mostly the goal of spraying the organic Rev. It is a bunch of really good bacteria that help the plant's immune system kind of fight off whatever is going on here. And I've seen this in the past, and I've seen it get out of hand without treatment, so I'm fairly certain that what I'm doing is helping. Past all of that is this first section of corn, which is probably grown like 5 or 6 inches since you last saw it. It is going so fast. It gives me more hope that I did not plant too late in the season. I knew I was taking a little bit of a risk, but look at that. It's doing so good. So if we turn around and look at the corn, this is actually much, much farther along than my corn was last year. And I actually did not really realize that. Oh, look, this is a honeybee right here. I actually did not realize that. And I now feel way better about this. And it might even convince me to still go ahead and plant some more corn here. Because guess who still hasn't done anything with this area? Actually, no, I changed my mind in real time. I remember I decided I was going to leave this empty for some of my fall stuff. Weeds are taking over, but that's fine. They'll just take care of the soil while I'm waiting. But yeah, the corn is coming along. It is pretty short, but we'll see if that ends up being a problem. I see some ears already starting to form as well. Look at that. And then if we look up at the trellis, things are all the way up at the top. And I have actually started turning vines around to come back down where there's room so that they don't grow straight up and tangle around each other like they have in the past, making all of the beans that they produce up there completely out of reach. I don't have any beans on these yet, but if we come around here to the outside, I can show you I do have flowers. So hopefully by next week I'll have baby beans to show you guys on these. This trellis is more filled out than it was this time last year with noodle beans. I think I hadn't planted noodle beans on half of it and the other half was cucumbers. But the noodle beans are much farther along. I had just started getting flowers for them this time last year, and I have already been harvesting for like at least a couple of weeks here, noodle beans, and am still continuing to get plenty. I think I mentioned last week that I did have a few just dry up because of the drought, but now that they've been watered regularly, everything seems to be looking a lot better. I also have my first cucumber right here. Look at that. I am waiting to pick it because I am actually not sure how big it's gonna get, so I've just been watching it. It's still growing, still getting bigger. So I will pick it once it seems like it has kind of stopped growing. Speaking of cucumbers though, I did have ripening cucumbers this time last year, and my cucumbers are very far behind that this year. I do actually have some vines now though, which I'm very happy about. I did not think I was going to get any at all. And next to them are the blue butterfly peas, which this time last year hadn't even started flowering. And look at that. Oh my goodness. These flowers are just like the most beautiful flowers. But yeah, like this vine goes all the way up to here. And last year, this time it was just barely that tall, hadn't flowered yet. So I did a good job planning ahead and getting these planted just a little bit earlier, and that has gone well. Fig tree still putting on new baby leaves. Lavender looking about the same. I'm not sure why all of this died off, but some of it is still alive. And the rest of these herbs look approximately the same as they always do. I definitely have not come through here and actually cut any for drying, which is on my list of things that I definitely should do while they're in peak season. This other raised bed also still looking about the same. One of the things I'm planning for you guys is actually a comparison between these two raised beds, because believe it or not, they're actually from two different companies. So you can expect to see that sometime soon. So if we move on to the raised beds, like I said, most of this wasn't even here last year. I just had these two right here. And this definitely looked better last year than it does this year because the drought has definitely made these things really suffer. It makes them not just like grow smaller, but also makes them more susceptible to any pests that come along. Like I can see sage is falling prey to whatever that is. Potentially it's spider mites. And there's not a whole lot that I can do about that because the plant just isn't up to defending itself because it just hasn't gotten enough water. The thyme also, it's bigger than it was last year, but it's also half dead. So I think the only thing in this raised bed that I had last year was the chives. They were just starting to get established, and this past spring they flowered and got big, and they're definitely very well established at this point. Also at this raised bed, I have a couple of large spider friends. They are a little spooky looking, but they're out here doing a really good job of keeping down the pests in my garden. Also look, this is the female, the big one. And then up here, that's the male. I think he's going to die after they mate. So wish him luck. There's also another one over here eating something. Look at that. Anyways, carrots, I don't think they were even planted here this time last year, and I have already started cutting off some of these heads to harvest the seeds out of them. You can see they're getting nice and brown and crispy, and all of these are carrot seeds. For anyone who's wondering, can I let a carrot go to seed and then still eat the carrot? If you look at this, I'm gonna say no, just because it is tough, like super tough and really gnarly looking these days. These carrots have served their purpose of storing energy for the plant to eventually make seeds, and now all the good nutrients are being sucked out. This is getting tougher. It is no longer good to eat. So you do have to decide seeds or harvest when it comes to root vegetables. Look at this weeding that I have not gotten around to yet. The blueberry plants in there are thankfully still alive, but if I don't rescue them soon, I don't know how happy they're going to be. Look at that. Oh, they're trying. Strawberries, like I said, I just cut a bunch of the runners from over here. Basically what strawberries will do is they put out these runners. They're basically propagating themselves, and you can cut these off and plant them and have new baby strawberry plants anywhere you want. This is how I started this entire strawberry patch from one plant. It was sitting right here in the corner, and you can go back and watch my old garden tours and see it, but this one plant that I got made all of this. And it's been like a year and a half, maybe 2 years at this point. I'd have to look back to remember. So in exchange for saving the money on the plant, it did take some time, but now I have like basically unlimited strawberry plants. Looking at the berry patch, I've definitely expanded it some since last year. My St. John's wort, actually, I don't chicken on this much, but it is looking pretty healthy. It's not been as affected by the drought as some of the other stuff in this area. So it's thriving. And if you look at the strawberries this year versus last year they were definitely like lush and fluffy, and this year they are like parched and barely surviving. But I think they will survive. They look like they're gonna come back. They're doing fine. Berry patch also looks kind of sad by comparison. If you look close at the raspberries, you can see just how many dead and dying branches there are from the drought. And last year it definitely just looked almost entirely green. Alright guys, so that is all I have for you today. Hopefully you found it very informative to see this comparison between both years. And see how some things are doing really well and some things are failing by comparison, and just take any lessons that you can from that. One more reminder that the live stream is happening on this Saturday. That is the 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and the link to get into the Discord is below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy gardening!